just drop a comment, say hi. Let me know whereabouts you're coming in from, whereabouts you connected. That would be awesome as we open up, because today we're going to take you through the final part of you, right? So the final part that is related to the you part of the financial foundation. Because let me ask you this. Have you ever had the problem when it comes to your financial goals that you always say, well, I just don't seem to have the time. But when you look at it, we understand that we always have the time for things that are important to us. So it's really about priorities, isn't it? Right? But maybe it's because there's a little bit of confusion, right? You're not quite sure on what to focus on. Hey, Jeanette, how you doing? Good to see you. But maybe you're confused about what to focus on. And that's the reason why sometimes you're not actually able to calibrate and get laser focused. And perhaps you're distracted about now versus the future, right? Maybe it's that things just keep popping up, right? We've heard it all of the time. Alan, Justin, good to see you guys. I hear it all of the time. You know, we were on track and then something just went wrong, right? Everything was going great until it wasn't. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you, brother. So what I'm going to take you through, I'm going to help you crack the code on all of that, just break that wide open and get some clarity in and around what's important to you, so you can help that to sort of leverage yourself to a rocket ship, so to speak, and help you unlock the code to help you break some of those false limitations and become laser focused. Some of you will have heard me talk about these things before. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. But this is how it relates to finance, right? And this is how it relates to money and the building of wealth. Because here's the thing, when you can master what I'm going to take you through here, not only in this life will you be able to become, meaning the money life, right, be able to become virtually limitless in what you're going to be able to achieve, especially in comparison to potentially where you are right now, but it's going to help you become laser focused. It was Simon Sinek that said just this, and I'm going to read this one. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. And that's really the theme that I'm going to take you through here. And it's super, super critically important in order to help you stay on track regardless of your journey. So, hey, Lisa. Hey, Jeremy. Thank you guys for jumping on there. And I can see you're coming through both of my comments field now, which is awesome. So I think this is the way that we're going to do it. So as we get into it, for those of you who have just joined, we're going to take you through the final section of you when it relates to the financial foundation, right? We're going to take you through the final bit that is all got to do with this little sucker here, our cranium, which is crammed full of information, crammed full of the future, but also crammed full of potential roadblocks. And so if you're one of those people where it's always been a matter of, oh, look, we just don't have the time, but we know it's not about time, it's about priorities. And maybe you're sitting there and you're a little bit confused about what's most important to you. So we're going to help you in that vein. Or perhaps you're always distracted. Something pops up last minute and just derails you. This is for you, because I promise you what I'm going to take you through here is going to crack the code and help you unlock the limitations that sit there, how to be able to become super, super clear and understand how you can gain the most out of your time, but also become laser focused on what you want. So as we do this, let me see whether I can crack across into here. So many of you will have seen something like this before, all right? But I'm going to unlock a little bit more behind it. Hey, Todd. Hey, Mark. Good to see you all on here. Thanks for joining us. Right, so we all know about, most of us know about the three brains, right? And you're going to think, well, what do the three brains relate to finance? Huge connection to finance, huge connection to motivation. And that's what we're going to run through. So for those of you who've seen this before, and for those of you who haven't, right? Whoops. Whoa. What happened there? I totally took you to a different spot. Let me recalibrate myself here. Discard. Go back to here. All right, maybe this will work. Okay. Yep, it's working now. All right, so this top brain here, this is our neocortex. This is the sort of executive factory of our brain. This is where all of the critical thinking happens, right? So this part of the brain is quite often the thing that leads us to success, but is the most successful in also derailing us. You've heard of it, procrastination through over-prioritization, right? This is where it all happens. And then we've got the reptilian brain, which is, our very most basic brain. Like, is it interesting? Is it new? Is it going to hurt me? Is it not? But this is the brain that I want to chat to you about, and there's a couple of different ways that people talk about it. They either call it the limbic system, and the reason why a lot of people don't always refer to it as a limbic system is that people can't always agree on exactly what creates the limbic system, or the mammalian brain. Right. So this is social contract. This is a social construct. Sorry. This is where our emotions sit, and it's really the emotional side of the equation that's the most important that we're going to run through. So if we break this down a little bit further, all right, and we go, okay, what's made up of the limbic brain, right? So you've got your thalamus, you've got your amygdala, you've got your hypothalamus, and you've got your hippocampus, right? And all of these have very, very fundamental things that we're going to run through today. So the thalamus, the first one off the ranks, this is for your sensory system, right? This is the translation or the relay system of all of the things that you see, hear, and feel, right? So it's the sensory system. All right, it's the sensory system, and it processes those things that we see, that we hear, that we feel, right? And it then processes those to different parts of the brain so that we can experience emotion, because a lot of emotion actually happens from things that we see, hear, or feel, right? So the thalamus is basically where in the brain it processes the senses that we feel, hear, and see, right? And then gives that context, takes that. So if it's like me watching a Robin Williams movie, then I start bawling into tears, right? But you notice that there's one part that I didn't talk about. And does anybody know which one that is? Just whack it in the old comments field, right? Because I used to say when I was young, that music was one of the most powerful things on the face of the planet, because you could hear a song and it would take you back to exactly where you were when you first heard that song. But there's one thing that's even more powerful, and I didn't know this until I started studying some of the makeups of the brain and psychology behind it. But the thalamus doesn't actually process olfactory, so it doesn't process smell. All right, the smell actually has a direct link to another processing part of the brain, which we're not going to chat about today. But smell has a direct link, a far more direct link to some of the constructs of our memory and the processing of that. So that's why sometimes when you smell something, you're like, bang, and you are there. Like it's like yesterday. And it might have been 20 years ago. Anyway, that's just a point of interest. Right, so we've got our thalamus, and I'm going to tie all of this together as we get to the end. So our thalamus processes the sensory feelings that we have, see, hear, and feel. Right? The amygdala, which many of us would have heard about in different constructs, the amygdala gets a bit of a bad rap at times, but the amygdala is a little gland, right, that sits sort of in and around here somewhere, and I'm not a brain surgeon, right, so it could be well to the left, right, or up. Probably not too much further down. So the amygdala, there's two little amygdalas, and if you stimulate the amygdala, then you're going to produce a sense of anger or violence, or a sense of fear and anxiety, right? So a lot of people call this the fight or flight mechanism, and that's to a degree what it's there to do. It's there to keep you safe, to identify if something is a threat. And there's this concept called an amygdala hijack, and this happens a lot in people's wealth journeys, whether you're aware of it or not. Right? The amygdala hijack is when these little things get stimulated, the amygdalas get stimulated, and when they get stimulated, they produce fear and anxiety, and probably less so about violent, but you could end up getting violent. Like how many people have known people who have gotten violent when something's gone wrong financially, right? Especially in arguments in the house. So when it comes to investing, when it comes to money, when it comes to your wealth journey, right, one of the biggest traps to the wealth journey is actually fear and anxiety. So if you can regulate and you can manage things correctly, which we're going to tie into at the end, if you can regulate, understand why, have clear direction, be absolutely on purpose, then you will understand the construct as to how important it is. And the more important it is to you, the greater levels of fear and anxiety you are going to be able to wear in order to be able to pursue and achieve the things that you want. And here's the thing, remember, millimeters to move mountains. It's a game of millimeters where we're just constantly testing it, and eventually we can carry far greater weights. if we bring it back to the psychology of markets, if you invested the day before COVID-19 as an example, well, you may have been tempted to take all of your money out, but you would have lost 30 to 40%. Right? What you need to be doing is reprogramming yourself in order to be able to double down on that potentially. And when the market absolutely got hammered, go, okay, I want some more. Right? Because if you take your money out, bang, you've lost it. If you jumped in and then you kept on jumping in, you probably would have ended up with more, or you would have ended up with more than what you started with. Right? So this is just one area where we can see that if the amygdala hijacks you, gets overstimulated, produces too much fear and anxiety, blows your mentality up, then you can eliminate your wealth journey very, very quickly before it even began. Give me a shout out, y'all, if this is actually making sense and we're on track. And I'll be able to see the comments in here. It's a little bit delayed, but hopefully this is all making sense. Let me know whether this is useful. So here's just while you do, here's another interesting thing about the amygdala. If you have an underdeveloped or a dying amygdala or a deteriorating amygdala, well, that actually produces the opposite effect, right? And here's where some sociopathic behaviors can come in. An underdeveloped or a diminishing amygdala can produce what's it called? Putting too much stuff in your mouth. Hyperorality, hypersexuality, and disinhibited behavior. What I mean by that is that when the amygdala shuts down, right, it's there to make you feel fear, make you become anxious about things that you should. Right? And as it diminishes in its capacity, it can actually make you very unaware of the risks that you're taking. It can make you very socially unaware and do very, very unusual things in a social setting. And it's just because you don't have the amygdala there to moderate. So it's there to protect you. It's there to keep you safe. Thanks, Michael, mate. Appreciate the feedback. Oh, there you are. There you are. Oh, putting you on top of graphics. Oh, you're going to be up there. So the next part is the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is actually designed. Where would I put it? The hypothalamus. Oh, why does it keep doing that? Sorry, team. Technical glitches in and around the presentation. Let me find it. Where are you? There you are. All right, we're back. I'm going to try not to actually touch too much stuff now, because every time I touch it, I keep wrecking it. So the hypothalamus is all about the regulation of the body. So it also regulates our autonomic system, so our nervous system. And this is really where the key sits, right? Because this is the hypothalamus interrelates with every other part of the brain that we just spoke about. But it's the part that then produces or regulates the body, and it regulates the body via drugs, effectively. I call your limbic system the drug factory, because effectively all of these parts come together in order to be able to produce drugs that then flow through into your body, like epinephrine, which is basically adrenaline, right? Natural adrenaline that we face. So these things are sent through our system to either G us up and make fight or flight happen, as many of us have heard it. So you overstimulate the amygdala. The amygdala then sends a relay down to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus then goes, we need to regulate, or we need to get the hell out of here, right? And the regulation might be to step it up a notch. So it starts to pump you through full of epinephrine. So now you're feeling anxious, and you're getting pumped full of speed, right? That's effectively what's happening. So then you're either going to turn around and box on, or you're going to run, right? And in financial markets terms, well, here's the thing, is we also know that it shuts down a significant amount of your neocortex, which is your thinking brain, your rationalization, right? So when you're in states like this, you will make very, very poor decisions, potentially very, very poor decisions, when you have to provide lateral, logical thought to a challenge. And again, when it comes to money, when it comes to your wealth journey, this is so critical because, I'm going to show you in a minute why. So The part that I've left out is the hippocampus, right? So the hippocampus is actually, that converts your short to long-term memory, right? So basically when you have an event, right? So let's just say that the first time you invested, it was a day before COVID, right? All of a sudden, your first short-term memory in and around finance is going to be one of quite a terrifying event, potentially, depending on how much you got in, right? But here's the thing. This is the part that's going to actually, the hippocampus is going to be the part that's going to convert that to long-term memory. So what we need to do is we need to create a construct for you when it comes to money so that you can have these things working for you, right? You want to be able to get the thalamus to start to relay systems and pleasure centers that work for you. We need to make sure that the amygdala doesn't get overstimulated. And if it does get stimulated, we've taught ourselves a process that allows the hypothalamus to regulate the body in a healthy way from an investing perspective, so that then our short-term hiccups along the way actually become learning journeys. And so again, this is about theoretical stuff on Money Monday, and we're going to go to a tactical approach to this on Thursday. But this is, and we've probably seen this many times in the past, right? But this is your plan, right? Generally, and I'm hoping it's not going to go crazy and go to different screens on me now, but there's the finish line, right? So this is generally how we all plan our lives, right? That's a checkered flag. Mark says, I think my hippocampus is playing. Mate, I think from time to time mine does as well. Don't worry about that. That's a classic. So this, most of us, our best laid plans, right? And our best laid plans, we're on the journey, and I'm a terrible drawer, but that's okay. Right? We're on our journey, and this is how we plan it. Right? But who understands that reality is extraordinarily different, right? This is our journey, or this is what I know why it was doing what it was doing. All right. Now let's do this. All right, so your journey very, very rarely goes like that. It might be some great success followed by some serious challenges. Might be prolonged periods of time down. Then you might go backwards, as the case there. Then you might creep up, but as soon as you start to get ahead, then you find a new low, and then you think that it's always going to be that way, right? And then this is the journey of life, right? This is literally the journey of life, and it's how we navigate these periods of time through here that dictate where we're going to end up. And where we end up is going to be very much dictated by how we can process the meaning of the why and how we can process what that means to us internally. And this is as much about the brain as it is about the wealth journey. And so remember what I said, Simon Sinek said, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. So here's what we need to do, right? And I told you I'd bring it all together in the end. What we need to do is we need to look at our journey. We need to understand our why. We need to understand what is our objective, because money and wealth is not an objective. Right? And it is an objective, but if that is the only reason you do something, you will fail constantly if it's just in the pursuit of money, right? But if you can connect to the reason why you're doing these things, because what pushes you through getting through the biggest struggles of your life? Often it's not just you, right? What pushes you through getting through these ditches? Because getting through these ditches can be really tough. Sticking to the plan can be really tough. Regulating in order to get in when you've just lost is tough. How hard is it for a boxer to get back in the ring after he's been knocked out? It's tough, but they do it. And that's called grit. But how do you develop that grit? It's about the pursuit of passion, and it's about understanding how the brain actually processes these things. Because if you can get your hypothalamus to actually produce drugs that inspire you, that regulate and calm you so that you can make better decisions when it comes to finance, when it comes to breaks along the way, when it comes to short-term failure, and I'm going to say short-term failure because then you learn the lessons that lead to the growth out of there. if you can learn how to regulate this effectively, then your journey is, yes, it's going to be high and low throughout it, but you will be able to stick to the journey. So therefore, when you start to look at your priorities that you're passionate about, that you enjoy, that you love, right? When you start to look at those and you come back to your wealth journey and I ask you, well, how come we went off track? You're not going to say I didn't have the time, because you know why that is so important that you get there. You've contextualized it as to what meaning it's placed in your brain, which will then allow your brain to produce the chemicals that it needs to in order for you to be able to get the motivation that you need to in order to drive, survive, and achieve what you really want to achieve. And that's the key. That's why it's the drug factory. It produces the drugs that can make you fear and fight and flight and just run away, or it can produce the things that will actually provide you with the calm and the regulation to achieve what you want to achieve. It will literally provide the drugs to help you succeed. And here's the thing, if you get clarity, you will be able to light that drug system up. You will then become laser focused on your pursuit, on your journey, because you know why you're doing it, and it's driven by your why, it's driven by your passion. It's driven by the passion. So now you're not working hard for something that you don't care about and getting all stressed. Now you're working hard for something that you love, and that's called passion. So what we're going to take you through on Thursday is a construct, and it's really, really simple, but you can see that simplicity is sometimes born from some very, very complex ideas, right? But what I'm going to take you through is a very, very simple process that you will be able to use, and you'll be able to use it with yourself, with your team, with your talent, with anybody who is willing to spend a glass of wine with you, or a soda stream. I'm going to give you the tools to be able to ask yourself, so that then you can use this time and time again to develop a plan and develop a path and develop systems and processes that'll keep you on track and help you be driven by the why and not distracted by all of the things that pop up in normal life from time to time. Because if it's passion and it's on purpose, then you're 10 times more likely to succeed. I don't know whether that's the statistic. I just know that it's fact. Right. So hopefully that made sense to all of you. I'm not sure if we've got any questions or whether everyone's just gone silent in the background. Give us a shout out. If there are any questions, as I said, there's a little bit of a lag, or if you're like Mark and your hippocampus is playing up, let us know what's going on out there. Let us know whether you liked it. Let us know whether you enjoyed that. This is the last one that, and by the way, we can go so much deeper, and we probably will at different points in time, but I want to take these sessions and I'm just going to spend 3 in each of the areas of the financial foundation. We always start with you, because the journey starts with you, because it doesn't start with anybody else. All right, but then we're going to go into leverage. We're going to go into finance. So the next ones are all going to be about mortgages, about loans, about debt, everything debt, right? And we're going to go through 3 sections of that. So we'll do it again. Monday will be about strategy. Thursday will be about the tactics. So it doesn't look like too many of you are, here they are. Great, Michael. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. Oh, it's and Jeremy, mate, appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on. It's a little bit early over there in WA too, mate. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you next week. But for now, that's a wrap, unless anybody's got any questions on it. Like I said, Thursday, we're going to break this stuff down so you can make these things stick, so that you can identify a path and you can make it have meaning. And again, it's going to be super simple, like it always is, but it's a matter of being able to understand the basics around motivation, the basics around finance, the basics around it, and then understanding the complexities that sit around that make it so, but then being able to condense it down into a way that is simple for us all to be able to understand, because ultimately it's about making the journey as easy as it possibly can for us, and not having to wade in too much complexity. And Trev, great to see you, mate. Really good to have you on today. Really, really good to see you, mate, and good to chat with you the other day. Looking forward to getting a few things happening. So thanks, everyone. Awesome being there. Enjoyed it. Brutal for us, but it was super. Hope it wasn't too brutal. So guys, have a wonderful Monday. Love you all coming into these and enjoy doing them with you. So as long as you keep enjoying it, then we'll keep doing it. So we will see you Thursday for the tools and tactics so we can break this down and make it easy for you. We'll catch you all then. Have a great Monday, guys.